I think the biggest mistake is that you go to the gym and you go through the motion, but you don't really have your mind inside the muscle. So when you do a bicep curl, I can't just stand there like this. Yeah, you can. I've seen the guys training with me also 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, but they look like shit. And why did they look like shit? It's because they didn't concentrate. They did the same exercise, but they stood like this and then they looked sideways, kind of like they were bored, because they didn't even know why they were training. They were not inside that bicep or inside that lat when you do the rowing and you pull back and you flex the upper back and the center back, and then you let it down and you stretch it and you think about that the wing is coming out now, or like a curtain is opening up. You know, we always thought about the curtain, right? This is when we did our lat spreads. So you got to think about those things. When you do calf raises, and I do my donkey calf raises, I got to be inside the calves and to make them split, to make them open up when those guys sit on top of it. You know, first 3 guys, then I have 1 guy jump off, and with 2 guys, then I have another guy jump off, and then there's 1 guy left on my back sitting and doing donkey raises. You know, some people looked at it and said, this guy's doing some kinky singing. But anyway, there was something else. It was the strangers, they didn't know what we were doing. But I tell you, you got to be inside the muscle. The same is when you do chest. I mean, when I'm finished with the bench press, immediately I step in front of the mirror and I flex. I hit the shot. I want to see everything, how it works, right? And the same is with the cable crosses. When you do afterwards cable crosses, I want to always see what happens. I have a routine, which basically means they do something where you don't have to think much, if at all. Like, I believe that routines are very important. It's kind of like the foundation, like to a house or to a building or to anything. So that means like if I get up in the morning, part of my routine is to get up in the morning at, let's say 5 o'clock. Then I make my coffee, I feed the animals, I go and read the paper, go through my iPad, see if there are any important messages. So that's part of the routine. I don't even think about that. I also, part of the routine is that I have my bike already mounted on the back of my car. I drive down and then take it off, and I ride with the bike to the gym in the morning around 6 o'clock or so. Then I go to the gym and I work out 45 minutes to an hour, so that's also routine. It's always kind of the same thing, in that I do arms and deltoids one day, and the next day I do chest and back, and calves and all this stuff I do every day, and form a little bit, and abs, of course, every day. And then it repeats itself. And I do this the whole week. And then what is also routine is that at night, I do some extra cardiovascular work before I have dinner. So I go for, in my home gym here, I go upstairs and go for half an hour and do the arm cycle, or the treadmill, or the life cycle, or something like that is cardiovascular. And the idea is to burn enough calories so that when I eat dinner then, which is very minimal, that it is, I don't have to really worry about calories or gaining weight, because the older you get, the faster you gain weight and the more the body picks up, because your metabolism is slow. So you have to be very careful with that. So those are kind of routine things that I do. And you try to add as many of those routine things as possible, because you do them without ever thinking about it. And that's what we need to do. There are certain things that we need to do that is supposed to be a routine, that's supposed to be kind of part of your daily schedule without you having to think about it. And so that's basically my kind of routine, and I'm a big believer in that. Bottom line is that you can train any time of the day. We learned that very quickly. And so I kind of continued on with the tradition. I did 2 hours of working out in the morning and then 2 hours in the evening. And that routine was automatic. I didn't even think about it. My entire time in my bodybuilding career, I always trained twice a day, and never ever did I ask myself the question, should I go today and do the evening training? Or should I get up in the morning? I always got up at 5, 6 o'clock, always, and at 7 o'clock I worked. People should just realize that I'm not going to have any sympathy for any of those things, when someone says it's difficult, because there is a lot of things in life that are difficult. And you have to ask yourself the question right off the top, are you going to be one of those guys that are going to go and back off every time something is difficult? Or do you want to be one of those guys that says, look, it doesn't matter if it's easy or difficult or most difficult, I'm going to go and crush through it. That's me. That's the person that I want to be, and I'm going to prove it to myself, and I'm going to prove it to the rest of the world. So yeah, there are certain things that are difficult. It's difficult for people to have a routine, but they just have to go and do that, and they should just work on it, where they go and say, do something very simple. I'm going to go and get up every morning at, let's say, an hour early, before they normally get up, and just work on that. And then the next time they work on it and say, okay, I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to go and make my coffee or my tea or whatever, and I'm going to read papers, even though maybe I haven't read the paper yet in the last 10 years. Just add that to you, and don't even ask about it, should or should I not. That's the key thing about the routine, is that you don't ask yourself, should I or shouldn't I? You just do it. In order to be complete, and that's when you really have a 100% chance at being successful. When you have a complete situation, that means that you have developed your body, meaning your health, your strength, your energy, and all of that makes you much more positive, right? Because that's when you wake up, when you feel strong and you feel fit, and you ride the bicycle in the morning, the whole world looks much more bright. So the training of the body, extremely important. The training of the mind, extremely important. That's why I say to people, I say, you got to educate yourself, you got to read something every day, you got to learn a new language, you got to just always improve and look at what can you do to improve your business or your life in general. So to develop the mind, and then to develop the spiritual side and the soul, extremely important also. So if we put those three things together, we have total completion. And this is why the physical training, and I'm not talking about wanting to win Mr. Olympia, no. We're talking about just take some light weights and do your reps. Pump up the body, and get some blood in there. Then go and run. Go and run the stairs. Go and exercise. Go to a yoga class. Do some weight training. Or when you have kids, go out and play sports. Go football playing and go soccer playing and tennis playing and this, whatever you can. That is what creates kind of life in you, and therefore more enthusiasm, and you have a much more positive outlook in life. Bottom line is, and why I like to do those seminars or those lectures or those motivational speeches or whatever you may call it, is because you can pump up people and you can really give them this extra push that they need. Give them encouragement, get them into a positive thinking mode and all of those things. Because I know that I'm a product of exactly that. Mm-hmm. I remember that when I was 15 years old and picking up this magazine and reading about Reg Park, I was so pumped up. I went home, and all of the things that I hated at home, and all of the things that I hated in school, all of a sudden disappeared. Because now I had a purpose. Now I knew where I was going. I read it in the magazine, I said, this is what Reg Park did. Oh yeah, he came from a poor place, Leeds. It was a factory town, it was dirty and polluted and everything like this. And that's where he grew up. That's kind of the way I grew up here. And, I followed his footsteps, and it worked. And so this is why it is so, when he just through a magazine has this kind of a power over me. Yep. Imagine now if we go there and tell people, live, you can do it. You can do it. You can be the greatest. Do it. Go for it. Get to the chopper. Whatever. I mean, it's like you pump people up. And so this is why I like doing it, because I feel like I'm a product of a lot of encouragement from so many people. So I want to do the same, because remember, in the end, I always say we're not judged by how much we make, but we're judged by how much we give back. Nice. How much do we give? So that's where I want to give something back.